let's talk about what to do on day one of a new Google Ads campaign. Chris, is this after you've already set up settings and added keywords and created ads, just for clarity?
Yes. You've gone through the whole setup. You've got everything, like it's ready to launch. You're happy with your ads and everything. This is like literally day one. You've turned it on, you've given it a budget and a bid. That's actually the first step. So step one, give everything a budget and a bid that's appropriate to what you're looking for. Okay. Now, one thing we'll say, because this is the Paid Search Podcast, and you and I work in the way that we think is the best, and the superior method for both of us, I think we agree, is manual bids is the best place to start. I prefer manual bidding, and that's why I say set your bids in the budget. I don't say just set your budget, because we're using manual bids, and so therefore you need bids at the ad group level, and that's what I'm referring to for step one, day one.
Okay, so set your bids and budget. Pretty simple to say, but maybe harder to do in reality for people that don't have a ton of experience with Google Ads. Let's start with budget. What do you set your budget to?
Yeah,
it's based on the day. So right. What do you do?
Right. So there's going to be really three different situations. Situation number one, you're running 7 days a week. So you take your total budget over the month and divide it by 30. If it's $1,000, then it'd be about $33 a day, and that would bring you to $1,000 for the month. If you're running just weekdays, that'd be situation number two, and you would divide it by, I usually do 20. I usually say about 20 days, so I take my total budget as if $1,000, I divide it by 20, that comes out to about $50 a day. And then situation number three, if you have something customized, beyond that, you're only running like Monday through Wednesday or something, just figure it out from there, and you can come up with your own custom number. But really, it's just your total budget divided by the number of days per month that you're running.
And a big problem I hear from a lot of advertisers, Chris, even seasoned, when they're talking about new campaigns to set up, people get very worried about what to set their monthly budget at. So do you have any thoughts on the importance or lack of importance of that? Just briefly.
Briefly, whatever what I always say, my one-time answer to that, because I really don't like the question, is whatever you can afford to lose and get nothing from it, and it not cause you to have to sell your family and burn your home. There we go.
And do you feel like explaining the context of that on the 314th episode, or should we just let it sit there?
I think, hey,
okay. It'd be fun to let it sit there.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll just briefly add on to that. Obviously, getting results is very, very possible, and it happens all the time within the first 30 days. Within the first 90 days, it always happens. Like it almost always happens. But that first 30 days, and to a little bit of a smaller extent, the first 90 days is a time when new campaigns are there to figure it out, and you want to have something that you're comfortable with running for 3 months in a row, because usually that's the time I think us and most seasoned advertisers ask to have to dial it in and to figure out the strategy that's going to work really, really good, even though you can get pretty good results a lot quicker than that. So definitely set your budget, and we'll move here, Chris. Your bids. Okay, sorry, but this is going to be a very tough one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're a manual guy. I'm a manual guy. We kind of know what to look for here. We've worked in a lot of industries over and over. But let's say you're new to an industry. Let's say you're new to Google Ads. How do you even start with knowing what to set your bids at on a manual basis?
It's a really good question. And honestly, until you get to the level that Jason and I are at, I can't really tell you how I do it, because it's a gut level thing. Jason, they
don't even have to be at the level I'm at. I think if they can just get to the level you're at, they can figure it out.
Right. If you could get to number 2, you don't have to be to number 1. Yeah. So at least, yeah.
Well, Chris, I think one way is the keyword planner. You can just see, what they say suggested keywords are at. Another way is if you have other campaigns going that are in a similar industry or the industry, and they're pretty similar, you can look at what the cost per click has been. Mm-hmm. You can do maximize clicks for a week or so and see what the system dials it in there, and then change to manual. A good automated strategy to kind of find the right bidding level. I would say should take about a week to kind of get that data, some good data over a couple days after it warms up. And then finally, Chris, just like with budget, I think people overthink the manual bids. You can change your bids. If you set them too low and your positioning is showing up too low and you're not getting volume, you just raise your bids. If you start spending your budget what you think is in a way that's way too quickly, and your absolute top percentage position, you're showing up number one like a lot of the time, and you're spending your budget way too quickly, lower the bids. And so that's why, you want a month, 3 months to kind of figure it out, because you're going to be doing things like changing your bids. But I think people overthink that, and there's really nothing wrong with getting the wrong bids in there for a few days, as long as your daily budget is something you're comfortable with experimenting for 4 or 5 days while you figure out the bids.
And that is such a good point. Overthinking, if you're frozen on that point, you're doing exactly what Jason's talking about. You're overthinking it. And the next 6 days that we're going to go through will address whether you got that wrong or not. So the whole system that I built here will correct for a bad guess. So don't be held up on it at all.
Yeah, and if your monthly budget is $2,000 a month and your daily budget is, let's say, $60 a day, something like that, $66 a day. Well, the first couple of days, $66. That's maybe you get the wrong bids for the first $66 that day. Okay, you're going to be spending $24,000 that year, $48,000 over 2 years. You can afford a day or two to figure it out. But Chris, once you put a budget you're comfortable with, that's the word, and then bids that you want to try, what do you do with your keywords, and why do you like phrase match here?
Yeah, so my suggestion is to go with phrase match, largely because it limits the risk, and it really has to do with how much risk you're willing to take. So phrase match is something that I prefer for many clients to begin with, when I know that the volume of traffic is there, and I know that these searches are fairly common. Absolutely necessary if there is a fine line between qualified and unqualified. Particularly, I'm talking to like B2B companies, things like that. I think it's absolutely necessary. But if you're okay with more risk, and you don't feel like there's such a fine line, then I think broad is okay. But again, this system does correct itself towards the later part of the week if you got that wrong.
So phrase match, you're trying to get volume quickly to get some results, but you're also trying to protect quality.
Yes.
As you get that volume. I don't think anyone can argue with that. I think phrase match is a great idea. You just got to be a little careful with your 1 and 2 word keywords. Keywords that are 1 word long or 2 words long. You got to be careful with those on phrase match.
And you may have to go a little heavier on bid. That means you might have to bid heavier than you were expecting to get on Google. You may have to double at first, maybe triple the bids to get something on the board and get it going. So be aware of that as well.
Okay, and number 3, pretty easy one for the creator of the Lazy Man build over there.
There we go. You're right.
Don't make big changes yet. Sit on your butt and just chill. Just chill. On day one, just chill after you've set your bids, budget, and phrase match keywords. Just chill. The great Chris Schaefer.
That's it. Take the next 23 and a half hours off. That's it. Day 1 complete.